One Wrestling fans tuning in worldwide. Andre Corbeil, your official Impact Wrestling, OneWrestling.com reporter at the home of the legend, the icon, the one and only Bill Apter.
It's me, Melendez, aka the Super Mexican.
Diana Hart, Andre Corbeil.
That's right. You got the hardcore legend, an icon in this industry, none other than Mick Foley.
Drama.
AKA formerly Brodus Clay the Funkasaurus. Did you do know that?
Petey Williams' definition of make-believe muscle.
We'll see you at the matches.
Jean-Guy Leduc from Laval, Quebec. Now fans, TNA Impact Wrestling brought hardcore to the table tonight, but I'm gonna show you, tell you, and reveal to you wrestling fan tuning in today what real hardcore is all about. Now hardcore is being 6-year-old, carrying log after log to the station where Papa gonna make you cut that log into 6 pieces for the fire to keep the house warm in the winter time as a kid. Now that's hardcore, living off of crepe and pancake with only maple syrup for water to have a sweet drink. Now that's hardcore.
Holy cow, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know who that fella was from northern Quebec, but he kind of resembles someone I know. Do you guys not agree, or do you disagree? Comment below, as you always do, right here at OneWrestling.com, but that's another story for another day. Let's get to the meat and potatoes, wrestling fans. It's May 15th, 2015, your episode of TNA Impact and your OneWrestling.com report from me, Andre Corbeil, your official OneWrestling.com Impact Wrestling reporter for the legendary icon Bill Apter, as Impact came to us from Orlando's Universal Studios, and we kicked off the show with a great EY reel, highlighting the brilliant and psychotic heel run that the Canadian is currently on, as we got Team Angle versus Team Young in the main event tonight. Now, this opener basically revealed the competitors, or at least the bulk, for the main event tonight, with Kurt Angle and Chris Melendez coming out first, and they ended up bringing out the Rising. Now, this was almost to complete their team, but it wasn't quite. There was still another spot left because later on in the show, Eli Drake, he was asked by the leader, Drew Galloway, to actually sit this one out tonight, and that there'd be many wars to be fought down the line, as Micah ended up being in tonight. Yes, the son of Haku. Now, the crazed Eric Young, yes, EY, came out and ended up matching the numbers with his team, equaling the Beatdown Clan. Now, mind you, minus Homicide, and I'm going to digress on that one because there's more to come, wrestling fans. Now, they came out and basically ambushed Team Angle till a returning Bobby Lashley came out, making the save and ultimately completing Team Angle for tonight's main event. Now, the only thing that hung in the balance, wrestling fans, was who would be Eric Young's final teammate? Who would it be later on in the night? So this was a very interesting hook to keep the viewers viewing and interested and looking forward. You know, suspense, right? Anyway, I digress on that. We then rolled into our Knockouts Tag Team Contest as Brooke and the returning Rebel took on Marty Bell and Jade, the champ's new faction. Yes, the Dollhouse. And it was really good seeing Rebel return again and in the ring, but in all honesty, aside from a few brief moments of brilliance, it ended there, as Jade and Marty absolutely tore her apart within the confines of this match. Now, the only offensive fury pretty much here was displayed by Brooke, but at the end of the day, it was the teamwork from Jade and Marty Bell that ultimately came through in the end with their double arm chokeslam finisher, equaling the 1, the 2, and the 3 win on Impact Wrestling, as the champ continued her mind games with Gail Kim, her personal life and her professional life. But I don't want to reveal too much, wrestling fans, so you know the tag, you know the hook. I'm going to digress. Now, we then had the BDC conspiring backstage, where EY comes in. This is where he finds out that Homicide indeed was out of the plans for the main event tonight. Now, EY, being the determined, crazed lunatic he is, wasn't really affected by that. So what does he do? He storms off in search of a final replacement for his team, wrestling fans, as Kenny King afterwards asks MVP, should we trust Eric? Now, MVP made an important oversight here. Now, it's better to be on the side of the Tasmanian Devil than not on the side of the Tasmanian Devil. As we panned in to the continuing campaign for EC3 for champ. Yeah, hashtag it, wrestling fans, and get it out there as Ethan runs down the TNA top 5 selections, basically calling it a piece of you-know-what, wrestling fans. Now, he furthermore goes on and continues to point out his record and the conspiracy against him, earning that title shot at the end of the day that he indeed definitely deserves, wrestling fans. But let's hold off right there and continue on with the twist in this story here, as Kenny Anderson comes down, cutting his time short, ultimately challenging Tyrus under the stipulation of earning a match against EC3, who really didn't want any part of this, ultimately saying no. But after a little bit of prodding from Ken Anderson, and I'll touch base on that momentarily, this basically angered the big man, who ultimately accepted the challenge. Now, long story short, we have a match and Tyrus loses. So Ken Anderson earns a shot at possibly ending the streak of 500 and some odd days. I can't think of the exact number right now, but whatever, on with the races here. Now, this was a decent match, and it saw EC3 ejected early by the referee from ringside, and this was enough to ultimately distract Tyrus enough for Anderson to play possum long enough to hit the mic check for the 1-2-3 win here for Mr. Anderson, who really pushed the language boundaries here tonight. As you could clearly see, Billy Corgan's stamp has already been noticeable within the production of Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, early on since coming on. So I even noticed a difference, a little tweak in some of the ring entrances. So I'm very, very interested to see how Billy Corgan continues to indeed push the boundaries. There's no wrestling product on a national cable television, a global television deal, where they're really giving the racy and the explicit, borderline acceptable language. So kudos and thank you, Billy. I'm interested to see how much more of this stamp comes into play, and like I said, it's already been noticeable. We then had Magnus in the ring saying that he'd smashed the Cowboy James Storm 1,000,000 times over the head with 1,000,000 guitars, ultimately calling him a sick SOB and calling him down to the ring for the crap and the games as of late involving his wife and baby mama Mickie James and him. Now, we ended up getting the Monster Abyss instead to come out and do the Cowboys' evil bidding for him, and it looks like Magnus is actually going to have to go through every Revolution member here before being able to ultimately face the leader, the Cowboy James Storm, at the end of the day, as both men more or less had a fight on their hands here instead of a wrestling match, with Magnus looking really, really good here, real good. Now, this style was actually form-fitted perfectly for the Monster Abyss. And what did the monster do? He tore down a barbecue set for the Pitmasters. It's a show on Destination America. Little cheap, short plug to the show, and I was fine with it. It was better than that Ghost Hunters thing, which really upset my Can-Am Wrestling Show co-host and one wrestling correspondent as well, Big Ray. So I thought this was quick, to the point, and not overdone. So overall, I was happy with that. Now, he ended up having to fight most of the Revolution. It wasn't one-on-one here. We had Manic come down and get involved, and ultimately we had Koya come down and get involved with that huge walking stick of his. Now, this laid Magnus out ultimately as it was 3-on-1 as they stood over him as he was crumpled in a heap, wrestling fans. Now, let's add on to the mix backstage with James Storm absolutely freaking out on the Revolution for their actions on Magnus, but this is a swerve, wrestling fans. I wouldn't buy it, and if you're a buyer on the market, don't buy this either. So we'll see where it goes from here. I definitely think it's one of the most entertaining storylines within the confines of Impact Wrestling right now. Now, we ended up rolling into round 1 of the Best of 5 series for the TNA Tag Gold. Now, this is involving the Dirty Heels and the Wolves for the vacant TNA Tag Team Championships, and I just know, and you fans, you gotta know deep down inside that this series is gonna be absolutely epic. And I'm gonna cut to the chase. If I ultimately had to make a, let's call it a fun prediction for this series, an outcome, it'll take a few matches for the Dirty Heels to be in full unison again, in full swing, so the Wolves will end up leading this series for the bulk of it, with the Dirty Heels ultimately coming on strong in the end and coming away in the end as TNA Tag Team Champions of the world, wrestling fans. Now, enough of that fantasy, back to the meat and potatoes here, as the action was solid, as was to be expected, with back and forth bursts from both teams basically. And let's be real here, fans. The bottom line at the end of the day is that they're not going to give us the all-out climax right away, so to speak, in the beginning of this series. Now, it'll get better and better and better and better come the end of the series, but I digress. Now, the first win, as Robert Roode ultimately ends up being the guy that eats the pin here, and just as I expected coming in, guys, the Wolves win and take advantage in this Best of 5 series. And like I said, I can't wait to experience this full series ultimately come to an end, come to a climax, and ultimately this is good stuff tonight here. Very solid match, and it's going to be amazing stuff rolling on. So again, good stuff from all four: Aries, Richards, Roode, and Eddie Edwards. Now we roll on. We then had part 2 of Taryn's mind games here on Knockout Gail Kim, as she reveals this sexy lingerie outfit that she had. Double take, triple take even, as she plans on showing Gail's husband, Robert Irvine, later on in the night this sexy lingerie outfit. But this doesn't come unanswered, because a furious Gail Kim comes out trying to put a stop to the games. Or ultimately, did she put a stop to the games? Some would say that Gail was playing right into Taryn's game, and this TNA Impact Wrestling reporter agrees. That's how I see it anyway, wrestling fans. Comment below, let me know what you got from this segment, with Gail telling her that she's ultimately crossed the line. But Marty interjects here and says, hey, we're just playing here. Don't be such a buzzkill. Now, this led to Gail quickly getting in her face, and she stopped piping up, and furthermore leading to Gail Kim getting in the champ's face, ultimately getting so fired up over this that she challenged Taryn, but Taryn continues the mind manipulation and the games, saying that we're not having a match. Ultimately, Robert even knows that I'm the better woman than you are, Gail. Now, this caused Gail to absolutely explode, and in a nutshell, all 3 members got out of the ring. Yes, all 3 Dollhouse faction mates. Now, we then rolled in and had a match that I was extremely interested to see, wrestling fans. I'm not sure if all of you viewers that watched Impact Wrestling were as invested in this as I'm invested in this. As Jessie Godderz, I think he's getting a solid push coming soon, and this wasn't what I expected. at all here, wrestling fans. He faced Robbie E in a very, very odd match, an odd segment, with Robbie E defeating Jessie not only once under 20 seconds, not only twice in under 20 seconds, but 3 times in all of a 5-minute span. Really, really confusing the hell out of this one wrestling reporter. And this is, face it, I'm a guy with a lot of wrestling contacts within Impact Wrestling, within the confines of the company, and ultimately this confused the hell out of me. But as this progressed near the end, Jessie kind of freaked out here, losing his temper, attacking Robbie E with a mic and a chair, and this could indeed be the shock, the wake-up call of Jessie. Now, it could be the push that I'm expecting Jessie to get, but we're going to have to wait and see. Like Bill Schuyler says, we'll see down the road. Now, again, this really confused me, guys. That's I don't even really know what to say, because within my circles, I am expecting a Jessie Godderz push. So maybe this was just a twisted way for TNA to get that and set the wheels in motion to really solidify which members of the split up, departed BroMans are face and indeed which are heels. So that was cut clear tonight, as Jessie Godderz is indeed the heel. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said, if this shock, if this wake-up call is indeed enough to wake up Jessie, and him being plunged into this push that I'm expecting. So, I'm going to roll on, and it's time for our Hardcore War main event gauntlet match of the evening, wrestling fans, with our first 2 competitors running the gauntlet, Drew Galloway and Low Ki. Now, we would get the battle for a few minutes until the first advantage coming in favor of Team Eric Young would be Kenny King. Now, he came out next, and this was followed by Micah, the son of Haku, for wrestling fans that don't know. And he came out with a billy club. Now, I might as well add and point this out to you, wrestling fans, that almost all of the competitors in this match, all of the participants, came out with individual weapons tonight, with this number 1 contender team, with the number 1 contenders team captain, Eric Young. What did he come out with? A garbage can. But anyway, he came out in the middle of this match, sadistically coming out third, and he had the choice to come out last, wrestling fans. Now, this just shows that the Twisted EY wanted to dish out instead of hold out. Yeah, that's how I'll say it, wrestling fans. And the same can actually be said for Kurt Angle, who came out next in this gauntlet. Now, you got to remember that the gauntlet, the final stage of the match, doesn't start until all competitors are indeed in the ring. Now, this gauntlet match, building up to the climax, had an entertaining pace and a very good, nice flow to it. And with the hardcore twist in the gauntlet match, it was kind of fresh to me. Now, the crowd thought so as well tonight, with all of the actions they were treated to, but Andre Corbeil is going to digress. Now, MVP was next here, followed by Chris Melendez, the war hero, and then, to our surprise, the surprise member on Eric Young's team, yes, who turned out to be, in my opinion, the best choice available, period, none other than Bram. And I thought this was great. He fits this style of match, and I think it's about time Bram really seriously gets out of the mid-card feuds and gets pushed into the title picture to battle. So Bobby Lashley came out as well here, and he ended up being the typical beast that he is all the time. And like I was just talking about Bram, guys, which even hammers home what I think, he was a beast as well tonight. Now, this ending, it was somewhat of a spot fest finish, but more importantly, not overly done, though, as we climaxed with Team EY getting the win here, with Eric Young garnering the pin on Chris Melendez, and getting the win after, in all honesty, I challenge anybody to to really say otherwise. The best pile driver in the business, delivered by Eric Young, and getting the win for Team EY. Now, and speaking of delivering, wrestling fans, TNA delivered a solid and entertaining episode of Impact Wrestling tonight that left many storylines not only running in full swing, but making a lot of sense. So I'm very intrigued and I'm invested, and that's the most important thing. As we pan and cap off the show with EY going into crazy mode and going way too far here, stealing Chris Melendez's leg and beating people up with it, as we panned out a very good solid episode of Impact Wrestling on Destination America and Challenge TV over in the UK and the Fight Network in Canada. Now, my name's Andre Corbeil. I really enjoyed the show. You can interact with me on Facebook at Andre Corbeil, at Andre_Corbeil on Twitter, Wrestling News Talk, the Facebook fan page, Andre Corbeil, the YouTube channel. Go over there and hit the subscribe button and get on board. Lots of wrestling matches, interviews, news, and lots of wrestling related stuff. Just like here at OneWrestling.com, One Wrestling Video on YouTube, at One Wrestling on Twitter, and follow all of us, the One Wrestling Video reporters here at OneWrestling.com, Big Ray at Big Ray's Show, Bill Apter at Apter One Wrestling, Andre_Corbeil, Bill Schuyler at You Got the Show, and Billy Ray Valentine at Billy Ray Hustle. Now, thanks for tuning in, and follow us all at One Wrestling. Take care, and I really enjoyed the show tonight. I'm invested and really excited to see where TNA goes from here.